This is JSA TV, the newsroom for tech and data center professionals. I'm Dean Perrine, EVP at JSA, and joining me today is my old friend, Mr. Tom Brown. Tom is the president and CEO of Hudson Interxchange. Tom, welcome back to JSA TV. How are you?
Doing great, Dean, and thanks for having me today.
You bet. You bet. Tom, we've got a lot to talk about today, so let's jump right in. Why don't you tell us a little bit about Hudson Interxchange, or Hudson IX, formerly known as DataGryd, and about your recent acquisition and brand new brand identity.
Dean, really exciting times here. So when you met with me a few years back, we were known as DataGryd, but at the kickoff of this new year, we were acquired by Cordiant Digital Infrastructure Limited, and CDIL, better known in the UK, is somewhat of a newcomer in the digital infrastructure fund in this business. Listed on the London Stock Exchange, they debuted in the Q1 of 18. But really unique about CDIL is two things. One, incredibly resourceful. The chairman, Steve Marshall, he was head of American Tower for a better part of 12 years. And Ben McCullough out of Toronto, spends a lot of his time in the UK as well, has been a better part of 30 plus years in this space, and really came together to build this digital fund. So really excited to have them as partners, but rather unique in how they're set up. They're actually a permanent capital fund, which is unique here and not well known in the US, right, where if investors want to buy in and then get their capital out, they do so by selling their shares. So there is really a long-term perspective on the investments. And for us, gratefully, formerly DataGryd, now Hudson Interxchange, we were the first foray into the US. So really excited about what lies ahead and the partners that we have, because they're aligned not only with what we're doing here day to day, but a great perspective on the business itself and the industry itself.
I love it. You said what lies ahead. Let's go that direction. Hudson IX's 60 Hudson Street location is one of the most concentrated hubs of internet connectivity in New York City. Why don't you tell us a little bit more about that facility and the expansion plans that you guys have taking place, I think, currently, right?
Here we are. So, Dean, think about the landscape globally for a second and how explosive the data center space has been. But when you look at New York City has actually contracted. Why? Because our friends at Google, when you think about the three primary aggregation points, 111 8th Avenue, 60 Hudson Street, 165 Halsey, right? One of those is now occupied predominantly by Google, right? So there's been some concentration in New York City. So when you think about available space and the ability to have that seamless connectivity, internet continues to grow, but the aggregation points have contracted, and that's unique. And people scratch their head and say, wait a second, that's quite interesting what's happening in New York City. So Hudson Interxchange, we are now expanding, and we pivoted with our new partners to a more retail. And how I define retail, Dean, is not a wholesale. And a wholesale to us is an operator, right? On the 5th floor, we have a partnership with our friends at DRT. They lease an entire floor from us, 60,000 square feet. And now we're expanding on the 6th floor, which is another 60,000 square feet. And you'll be seeing very shortly some of the announcements of some of the folks that we just have onboarding in the wireless realm, as well as some of the nation's largest ILEC providers. So we're really excited about the traction that we're seeing in the expansion. So we currently have the 1 megawatt data hall, and now looking to expand to 2 and 3 data halls, which are also 1 megawatt each. So really excited about that.
Oh, that's awesome. And I'm not going to ask you to name any names, Tom, but why don't you give us an idea of what your short-term plans look like, your long-term plans look like? Where are things headed over there?
Sure. So short term, right? We focused on this asset that we have here because the space, built out space within 60 Hudson Street is limited. And with our abundance of power, keep in mind, we have a very, very unique asset whereby we have power directly fed from the utility, which is unique from the rest of the building. The rest of the building has contracted out all of its power. So 12 megawatts of that 15 that we have allocated for Hudson Interxchange comes directly fed from the utility. So the sixth floor, we're looking to expand that out. And then we have options on 7 and 8 where we actually pre-built the power for those floors. So near term, when I say near term, in the next 2 to 3 years, lease that space up because there's quite a demand, but also our ability to access 300 plus providers. And we provide the connectivity, which is one that has an innovative means to it, where we direct connect from our customers to their partners, eliminating that meet me room or meet me area that is so custom and traditional, particularly in New York City. And that also brings flexibility and really a client focus, which is really renewed and a breath of fresh air here in New York that we're bringing to the marketplace to a broad spectrum of customers, whether it's traditional service providers, both international, domestic, cloud, content, gaming, large enterprise. We're seeing it all that have that latency-driven applications that we can certainly help them deploy their footprints in New York. Long term, really, really excited. Both existing and emerging aggregation points. The fact of the matter is, as you see this, the consumption of data going high and right, it just isn't enough aggregation points. There is, as you can see, a huge explosion on the edge, but it all has to filter back to these aggregation points.
Right.
So our partners at CDIL are looking at, and you'll see some announcements coming down the path. These things take time, but you'll see it in both existing and emerging points. Think about this: when load balancing and diversity of networks is so key, these now emerging aggregation points pop up. Think about Columbus, Dean, 5 years ago, really didn't exist. Now that's a main staple. Yeah. You look at Austin, you're looking at Nashville, you're looking at parts of Florida right now. You're seeing these aggregation pop up. So that's where you'll see Hudson Interxchange and our partners at CDIL come into play.
Yeah, I love it. Interesting you should mention Columbus, because on a Fast Forward episode podcast that Jamie and I do, I think probably 25% of the news had something to do with Columbus. Right. And I, of course, being from the Midwest, I'm a big proponent, right? But Tom, this is your time to freestyle. Is there anything else that you think our viewers would be interesting to learn about Hudson IX?
And again, just a really ultra focus on the client, right? The flexibility of being able to deploy what your requirement is. We look at each deployment as something that's very unique to what that specific customer needs. It is not trying to fit that round peg in a square hole. What is it that you need to accomplish? And we are just a small part of their solution. And that approach has been eye-opening for our prospective customers and our existing customers. And we're really excited about that. And you're going to see that not only here in New York, but as we evolve throughout. But what's really interesting, Dean, is the way in which CDIL looks at the business, right? They believe there's great synergies between towers, fiber infrastructure, and data centers. And they don't look at that as each individual silos. And companies today are investing in those silos separately. The principals here look at that as very synergistic. So look at some of the things that are going to be coming down the pike for Hudson Interxchange, and keeping those three asset classes in mind.
Excellent, Tom. So for our viewers that want to learn more about Hudson IX, where can they go?
So first and foremost, schedule a tour in person. It's great to have people back in person. So schedule a tour here at 60 Hudson Street. We've been seeing a ton of traction with folks coming in and taking a look at it. Of course, our website, hudsonix.com. You can reach the entire team there. There's QR codes that you can just access the entire team. And then, of course, the Interxchange podcast. We will have a launch episode, so stay tuned for that. So really excited about what lies ahead for Hudson Interxchange.
That's awesome, Tom. It is always great to see you virtually. I suspect we will see one another and give one another a handshake, if not a hug, the next time we see one another. So again, it's thank you very much for being here today. Let's do this again, maybe end of year or something. How does that sound?
That'd be great, Dean. Thank you. Again, look out. We'll be a very different company then. So very excited. Great to talk to you.
Great to see and talk with you as well, Tom. And thank you, viewers, for watching JSA TV. We'll see you soon.